You reached for your phone before you decided to. That is the part almost nobody notices. Your hand moved first. Somewhere in the gap between the thought and the action, a decision got made without you, and by the time you registered what was happening, the screen was already lit and your thumb was already moving. Most people explain this the same way. They say phones are addictive, they say the apps are engineered to hook you, that somewhere there is a team of very smart people working very hard to take your attention. All of that is true. It is also the shallow answer, and the real answer is far stranger. Because the pull you feel is not 10 years old. It is not 20. It is closer to 300,000 years old. It was installed in you long before screens, before electricity, before writing, before farming, before anyone had ever pressed a hand against a cave wall and blown red pigment around it. Your phone did not create this hunger. It only found it. So what is it actually feeding? Start with the object itself, because the phone on its own is nothing. It is glass and metal and a battery. Leave it face down on a table with the signal switched off and the pull almost completely disappears. That tells you something important. The device is not the thing you want. The device is a door, and you keep opening the door because you cannot see what is behind it. That word matters more than you think. Cannot see, not do not want, cannot see. Because the entire architecture of what happens next depends on one thing and one thing only, and that thing is uncertainty. In the 1930s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner put animals in boxes with levers. When a lever was pressed, food came out. Simple enough. But then he changed one variable, and that single change reshaped how science understands behavior. Instead of giving food every single time the lever was pressed, he gave it sometimes. Randomly, unpredictably, press nothing, press nothing, press food. He called this a variable ratio schedule. In plain English, it means a reward that arrives on no fixed pattern, and the animals went from pressing the lever to living at the lever. This is the part that surprises people. The reliable reward produced a calm, moderate, sensible animal. The unreliable reward produced an animal that could not stop. Not because the unpredictable reward was better, it was the exact same food. It was worse, in fact, because it came less often. But something about not knowing when locked the behavior in place so deeply that even when Skinner switched the food off entirely, the pressing continued long after it made any sense. Now think about what happens when you pull down to refresh. Sometimes there is something. Usually there is nothing. You do not know which one you are about to get, and you will not know until you look. You are the animal at the lever. But that is still not the deep answer. Because it explains the mechanism, not the appetite. It explains how you are being pulled. It does not explain what you are hungry for. For that, you have to look inside the brain. In the 1990s, a neuroscientist at the University of Cambridge named Wolfram Schultz was recording from single dopamine neurons in monkeys while giving them drops of juice. Everyone expected the same result. Dopamine is the pleasure chemical, so dopamine should spike when the juice arrives. At first, that is exactly what happened. Then Schultz added a signal, a light, a tone, something that came just before the juice, and after the monkeys learned that the signal meant juice was coming, something remarkable happened to the recordings. The dopamine spike moved. It stopped firing when the juice arrived. It started firing when the signal appeared. The reward itself produced almost nothing. The prediction produced everything. And when the signal appeared and the juice did not come, the dopamine neurons did something stranger still. They dipped below their normal resting rate, a drop. A small neural flinch that means, in effect, that was supposed to happen and it did not. Do you recognize that feeling? You have felt it. That tiny hollow moment when you open the screen and there is nothing there. Not disappointment exactly, because nothing was promised. Just a small drop and then the almost immediate urge to check again. A researcher at the University of Michigan named Kent Berridge spent decades separating two things that everyone had assumed were one thing. He called them wanting and liking. Liking is pleasure, the actual enjoyment of the actual thing. Wanting is pursuit, the pull toward it. Common sense says these must be the same system. They are not. Barrett showed that you can strip an animal's dopamine system almost completely and it will still show every sign of enjoying food placed in its mouth. It simply will not go and get it. Wanting and liking come apart, which means it is entirely possible to want something int